Welcome to the Prime Real Estate Network channel on YouTube. I'm your host, Mr. Prime Real Estate, Ric Davis.
And I'm your host, the Texas Real Estate King, LarryWBrooks.
Every week, the King and I will provide you exclusive access to our network of lenders, investors, and real estate professionals from both the commercial and residential real estate sectors.
Now, are you millionaire minded? Or maybe you're a millionaire in the making. Make sure that you subscribe so you can get connected to the network. And always remember, the Prime Real Estate Network, where millionaires are in the making.
Create wealth for generations.
What's up, Prime Real Estate Network? What's up, Prime Real Estate Network listeners? It's your man, Larry W. Brooks, a.k.a. the Texas Real Estate King. Hey, when you get a moment, go ahead and go over to shoplwb.com. You can see the Pure Hustle merchandise that we had over there, some of our newer items that we have in stock, and of course, I got all the books that I've authored. I'd love for your support. You have a great day.
Good day. Welcome to the Prime Real Estate Network podcast. I'm your host, Ric Davis. If you don't follow me on social media, I invite you to do so at Prime Real Estate Ric. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in residential or commercial real estate anywhere in the state of Texas, but especially here in the city of Houston, you can reach me directly on Instagram at Prime Real Estate Ric. It's great to be here this week, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you just like it is every week here on the show. And we have a really exciting show planned for you all. First things first, I want to take some time to introduce my co-host. He's a highly successful real estate broker, a multi-time author, serial entrepreneur, and a proud proprietor of the Pure Hustle clothing brand. I want to thank him for sitting in with us this week on the Prime Real Estate Network podcast. And I'd like to welcome and introduce the Texas Real Estate King, Mr. Larry W. Brooks.
Yo, what up, Rick? What up, Rick?
Man, how you doing, man? Good to sit in with you this week, man. Good to have you. Really excited about today's guest and today's show, man.
Yeah, man, I ain't got no complaints, man. Things are good, man. I got some big news coming down the pipeline. I'm not gonna drop it just yet, but next week episode gonna be special, man. I'm gonna drop some new things I got going on, man. That's I don't even know if it's ever been done before. I'll start with that. I don't know if it's ever been done before. So that's how exclusive. So those of you that are tuning in, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. You want to be able to hear the news that I'm gonna be dropping next week. Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if it's ever been done before, but your boy is about to take on the challenge of a lifetime and see if we can make this thing blossom into something really, really beautiful. So I want y'all to tap in for sure.
Oh man, that's super exciting, man. I hope everyone in the audience, man, set their reminders, set the timer, let them know, hit the like and subscribe, hit the bell so that you know when the Prime Real Estate Network is starting next week, man. So, we always ask you to share a little bit about some of the personal and networking dynamics that go into meeting and working with the guests that our viewers see here on the show every week. So could you share them a little bit about your relationship with this week's guest and how you went about getting them to commit to sitting in and spending some time with us?
No doubt, man. Listen, it's really always about being in the right rooms, man. And so he and I were in one of the same rooms together. Matter of fact, it was an event that our fraternity brother, Philip Yates, and that's what my attorney, my business attorney, Philip Yates, was hosting. And he and I were in the same room. We were talking to one of the same people, and they was like, y'all two need to know each other. And man, we exchanged information, had an opportunity to build a relationship, man, just watching each other's platforms grow. Everything from us here at the Prime Real Estate Network to him with the podcast, man, just really watching everything facilitate and grow, man, and having like-minded people on our show. So on his show, he's had some amazing guests, and in return, some of those same ones have been on our show as well, man. It's crazy just to see the like-mindedness behind it. So I want to say it's been, man, maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years ago that we first met at a networking event. You know, I believe in relationship currency, and that's the kind of thing that works. So my guy is very, very busy. So it's just, I'm lucky that we finally had the opportunity to narrow him down and get him here on the show, man.
Hey, man, look, I'm super excited because it's always an added honor and luxury when we have another digital content creator on the show. And I'm so curious to hear how he feels about the space, where it's going now and in the future, man. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce this week's guest. This fine gentleman is not only a digital content creator and entrepreneur, he is also the host of the culturally distinct podcast. Check him out. Like, follow, and subscribe. I'd like to thank him and introduce Mr. Adam Nelson. How are you?
I'm great, brothers. How you doing?
Man,
Good, man. Good to see you
outstanding,
on
man.
that side of the screen, man.
Yeah, I didn't know who you were speaking about at first. I was like, well, who is that guy?
My
Man,
God.
this was awesome, man.
He is definitely awesome. No doubt about it.
I want to thank you so much for sitting in. And so, for members of our audience who are being introduced to you for the first time and hearing for the first time about the Culturally Distinct podcast, could you just talk a little bit about yourself, your show, and some of the foundational elements that inspired you to start that particular venture?
Yeah, I really, I'm not a big fan of talking about myself because I let, other people do that. But, in a nutshell, I am Adam Nelson. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I reside here in Houston, Texas. Shout out to Houston. I've been in Houston for about 12 years. So by being in Houston, I had an opportunity to build a lot of relationships, like Larry spoke about earlier, a lot of business relationships. Had the opportunity to create a podcast in a space to where when nobody was doing it, I was like, well, I was the individual that have the opportunity to talk to people outside of work. And people had amazing stories, you know what I mean? So I said, man, we need to capture this on camera. So I just started the podcast and it just built from there. And the reason why I did it, I just said, people need to hear these stories.
Yeah.
Because we hear them at family reunions, we hear them happy hour, we might hear them like in counseling sessions, but people don't hear them in the world, you know what I mean? And it's people that you can touch versus a celebrity or somebody you can't touch. So that's why I started it.
Yeah, Adam, when you say that, man, I'm gonna tell you, it brought back a memory. I'm right now listening to the audio book of Boosie, right? And it's crazy because we all have these cycles in life that we're going through some of the same things, and you just don't know. He talked a lot about selling candy in school and where he got the candy from. And in my mind, I'm like, I was doing that when I was in, middle school and high school, and to hear that someone else, same generation, but miles and miles apart, somewhere else in the country was doing some of the same things. It's crazy. So as I go through and listen to stuff like that, like you said, getting it down on as we call it wax, or getting it down on audio is a big thing, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. I think most people we pretty much have similar stories, but our destinations are different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we follow the same path, like you said about the candy story. Or some people might say, okay, well, I started in my mom and pop's store or in the corner store. I started cutting grass. I started whatever. And next thing you know, they grew up and they got bigger, you know what I'm saying? Or somebody saw them and somebody invested into them.
Yeah.
And, they became what they are.
Yeah, man. Wow.
The great thing about your show that I noticed from checking out some episodes is that you guys celebrate urban business culture, but at the same time, you celebrate the arts and sports. And the thing about your interview style, and I'm really curious of what type of interviews have stood out in your memory, is that you have a way of melding art and business and urban culture together in a way where your guests feel comfortable talking about things that might be outside of their quote unquote expert area.
Right.
So what interviews stick out in your mind? What was it about that guest that brought that certain energy that's always stuck with you?
Well, to go back to the beginning, what you were stating, culturally distinct in itself, right? We all have certain types of cultures, different types of cultures, and every culture has a distinction within that culture, right? So I choose to highlight my culture, the Black African culture. So, and I know like we all know, they got a lot of dope people that do a lot of dope things, right? And in terms of my ability to communicate with people, of course, I was a former athlete, and we always had media training. So in media training, the first thing, you want people to feel like they're relatable or they're there. If they can't be there physically, they're there with you while you're speaking. So the same thing when you speak to people. The golden rule, it says what, do to others as you want others to do to you.
That's right.
So I want people to feel, comfortable. And then it's a technique. I can't tell you guys, it's a technique in communications where, when the guest feels like you're vulnerable, they're going to become vulnerable naturally.
Yeah.
It's like a psychology of the conversation. And, that's pretty much it, man. I like to have my guests feel comfortable, and then before we even get on camera, we be having some of the spirits.
I was about to say, I thought it was the shots walking in, baby.
Right. We have some of the spirits going too, so let that guards down a little bit because most people, as you guys know, when they see that camera and those lights, they get nervous and they tense up. So those spirits ease it up, ease that pressure that they thought they had prior.
No doubt about it.
I've always been curious as someone from New Orleans that's currently residing in Houston. How have you adjusted? How is the Houston culture? Is it so many people with us bordering Louisiana? How much was it a change for you? How were you able to embrace the city? Or did you have a lot of experience with the city before you decided to move here?
Actually, you know what? Houston reminds me of New Orleans now. Since, Hurricane Katrina, a lot of individuals from New Orleans moved here. Then, they moved back. Then we had another major hurricane, Harvey. So a lot of individuals left Houston to go to New Orleans. So it was like an exchange, right? So, but the cultures intertwine over the years. When we talk about the food, we talk about the music, we talk about the dance, we talk about the scene. It's pretty much the same, Of course, New Orleans is a smaller place geographically, but it's, a lot of people in Houston do the same thing. Now, they're getting to the place to where, we're having house parties and get-togethers and stuff like that because everything in Houston, as you guys know, is 100 miles away from each other. So you really can't do it like that. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same, man. So in order for me when I came here, it was easy to relate. A lot of people went to my college. Shout out to Southern University, HBCU in Baton Rouge. So a lot of people went there and they moved here.
Yeah.
So, we have probably 50% of people that graduated from Southern that's here in Houston.
Wow.
So we already had a network of people here. So, it was easy for me.
I had to ask you that question because Larry and myself, we grew up going to New Orleans for every event. Yeah. So I know you guys, especially being a native of New Orleans, you get so used to people, tourists coming to the city, hanging out, every big event. You don't have to worry about if you can see new faces uptown. You could go out and mix and mingle. But it's super cool that we've been able to share that same hospitality from all the people from New Orleans as they come to Houston. Because I know, man, since we were young boys and teenagers, going down I-10 and getting to the 504 was always on the calendar for all those major events, man.
Yeah, man. And especially when what recently just happened, the pandemic, Houston was only one of the places that was only open. So yeah, people from everywhere coming in.
Yeah.
So a lot of people had never been to Houston, came to Houston during the quarantine, and it was like, wow, we coming to Houston. We moving to Houston.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, even speaking of that, we just had Essence Festival. And at one point, Essence Festival was actually held in Houston, Texas, because of the Katrina that year or that following year. So we ended up having we ended up having the Essence Festival here. So yeah, a lot of and it's crazy because I see a lot of the relationships that were built through some of our promoters and promoters from New Orleans. Yep. They oversee each other. Like, meaning at the end of the day, when Essence Festival take place, a lot of our Houston promoters are down there as a big part of the gatherings and events that take place. Yeah, so yeah, you're right. The cultures have definitely kind of started merging together.
Yeah.
I want to ask you because as a podcast host and a digital content creator and a business owner, with one of the things that Larry and I have noticed that, especially in this digital content space, the industry is ever evolving. It seems it always just changes on a dime, on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. There's a new app, there's a new process, a new software. And with all of the artificial intelligence that has been recently made accessible to the general public, how has that affected what you do over at Culturally Distinct, and where do you see the digital content creation space going in the future?
Well, I think that you guys could see it. Just recently just happened, ESPN, they fired 20 hosts that's been there for years, and they hired a podcast individual, an ex-athlete that was a podcast, started off as a podcast, now it's an actual show. But the show is a podcast, and they gave him $85 million. So just in that example, radio is depleted. What's the other one? TV is depleted because people really not watching TV and people not listening to radio. They listen to podcasts.
Yep.
And that's the space. That's where we're going in the future. And the advancement of it is AI. Now, AI we're still tapping in because AI is still getting smarter and smarter and smarter. But AI, I think it helps out a lot, especially with script writing, with detailed information. If you had any shows, scripting shows, stuff like that, writing shows, AI helps out a lot with that. And then to take it a step further, they haven't done it yet, but I believe they're doing it. VR, virtual reality. So instead of having, how we have studios and having these interactions, everybody's going to have VR, and they're actually going to be in that virtual reality, having interviews and having podcasts. So that's the space where we're going to. So I just gave you guys a jewel. So if you guys want to invest in VR, you better start doing it now.
Hey, man, I mean, we were talking. We had a few meetings where we were talking about it about a year ago when it was just before the stock market started doing this little funny changing that is due. But everyone was talking about that metaverse and how Snoop Dogg had done his concert and everything down there. So yeah, man, I definitely see that being a big part of what we got going on. Even yesterday or today, they dropped the new app, Thread, and so I mean, that's a game changer when it comes for Meta, right? Because at the end of the day, they're gonna compete with Twitter because they already got a database of people that's automatically dropped into the platform. All you got to do is say yes,
Right, so, right. And then you also got to look at the social media presence, because now Instagram, at first, we talk about monetary now, getting money from these platforms. Instagram has gone away from paying individuals. So the only people are really paying individuals right now is really Facebook, Meta. And I believe Meta has partnered with Instagram in a certain way. Then, of course, you have your Instagram. I mean, you have your YouTubes, and I really haven't gotten to the TikTok algorithm yet. Of course, your Apples and Spotify's, they pay out. But yeah, so these platforms are moving to a space to where I guess they're trying to do a one-stop shop for everything.
They can try. They can try. You got some of them that's going to definitely continue to try to compete against it, because I mean, Twitter and the Tesla founder, now that he's over with Twitter, that's going to be an up and down. I don't see Twitter going anywhere. I mean, I like the opportunity for them to have that compete when it comes to Mark Zuckerberg and him. So I think that's good. That's good business for everybody, right? At the end of the day, we really don't want one person having everything, but it's crazy how they all create their small versions of their own processes. So it's only a matter of time for it's only a matter of time before Twitter try to come up with something that's similar as Instagram, I'm sure, at some point.
It's really interesting that we can talk about, like you said, Larry, the new app, the new Thread, and all these new things and where it's going in the future. And the most important thing that I think that artificial intelligence is adding to this particular area is what Adam spoke about, is the actual script writing, the behind the scenes, the verbiage. And I think what that's going to do is allow people in this space to more regiment and make their content similar to what things we've seen on TV. And to your point, this is why ESPN will hire a podcast, because the production quality isn't much differing from what people are used to now. So I think that's just something to keep in mind. Adam, I'm just so very curious for those in our audience that are meeting you for the first time. Before you decided that business ownership and entrepreneurship was something that you felt like would not only provide for you, but also for your family, what is it that you did professionally? And what was the catalyst or the tipping point that motivated you to stop what you were doing, get involved in entrepreneurship, and push all your chips to the middle of the table from that standpoint?
Well, my trade, normally I work for the United States government. That's what I really do. A lot of people don't know that. So I work for the government in a certain capacity, but I've always been an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12, starting off cutting grass in Washington.
Cutting grass, man. See, there you go. Me too.
Man, I still love cutting grass, man. That's where the money came. I was making a lot of money doing that. Then I started washing cars, doing that. Then when I went to college to play ball, I started cutting hair. So I always had a hustle going on. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was nobody had a car, I had a car, so I was renting out my car.
Yeah.
Before Uber was a thing.
Before Uber was a thing, man. Just come knock at Adam's door. You know,
that's it, man. Give me $5. If it's after 12, it's $10. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Inconvenience. But I always been an entrepreneur in that term. But when it came to big business, I had to learn the business. So by the benefit by working with the federal government, you meet a lot of government entities within each state. Yeah. And we have conversations, but they teach you certain things. That's why it's good to be in rooms, like Larry mentioned earlier. It's good to be in those rooms with individuals because you're bouncing ideas and you're bouncing information off each other. So that's a good thing. I just learned I have a sponge brain, so I'm like, okay, say that one more time. Mm-hmm. I learned how to start an LLC. I learned how to start what an EIN is. I learned how to invest. I learned how to partnership, stuff like that. And over time, I just started some new things. And, of course, as an entrepreneur, some things fail and some things succeed. But that's the beauty of it. You know what I'm saying? You can come back and say, okay, I failed at that. Let me try this. Let me move this over here, try this, and operate from that way. So, you're going to lose some money, you're going to make some money. So, but the benefit is it's yours at the end of the day.
That's right.
That's truly something that I hope everyone in the audience can hear, take in, and add, because, everyone needs mentorship, inspiration, someone to serve as an example. Adam, when you think back to your upbringing and your childhood, were there any members of your family, close inner circle that were business owners that may have served as an inspiration and a motivation for a young Adam Nelson?
Yeah, the first person that was an entrepreneur is my grandfather. He was, well, a lot of people don't get offended by this, but he ran a business, which is called the church.
Hey, that's a day. Listen, man.
Hey, but I saw him and he had a church and he started off with nothing, but he operated that church and ran that church into a successful business. Yeah. And then he also had like a fruit stand where he sold fruit, just to buy things for the church, PA system or some benches or, what I'm saying? So, but that was the very first person that I seen actually communicate with individuals to get money from them to, build something that he's trying to build. And then over time, I had an uncle, I had my mom, people that had small businesses in real estate or just in investment in properties, stuff like that I've learned, that I seen how they was moving and, what they was doing, the ups and downs of those businesses, the good deals that they have and the bad deals and the individuals that they meet, stuff like that. So, yeah, so I've been beneficial. It's been beneficial to me to have certain individuals in my family to operate their own business. And it's still operating to this day. So the church is still there and everybody else still have their businesses. So, yeah.
It's good, man. Hey, look, saving souls is not an easy thing to do. You know what I mean? We definitely need to be compensated when it comes to saving souls. So,
especially in the dark. You can't do it in the dark, right?
That's right, man. That's right.
You gotta pay the bills, man.
You gotta pay the bills, man.
That's an interesting perspective, and I want to thank you so much for your transparency, because one of the cool things about building this platform is that Larry and I have had the opportunity and the luxury to meet over 200 business owners and entrepreneurs. And I want to say, Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam's the first person to go back to having a member of his family running a church as their entrepreneurial example. Yeah, that's the first time. And the organization needed, the partnership needed to make a church run in a way that it serves the community, the way that everyone who starts off with that initial mission and visions is something that I think for a young person can set them up and be a great example for partnership, networking, building a business, and being a pillar of the community and giving back. So it's interesting that you have that experience.
So motivated every single day, because you got to be there for others, man. Like that's, just imagine if every day we knew getting up there, we got to put people on our back. I mean, that's a consistent journey, 20 years, 30 years later, that you have to do. So, yeah.
I'm going to give y'all a jewel. Here in Houston, see these big churches? They are leasing these buildings. So somebody owns the building. Yeah. The church is just leasing from the people. Yeah. So people are building buildings, facilities, and churches are putting their housing in there. So basically, you're profiting off the church.
No doubt about it. It's funny. You know what, too, Adam? I sat on a panel with the Black Expo 3 years ago, and it was a young lady that had created a platform where it was kind of like I guess it was kind of like Airbnb, but it was for churches, because it was like everyone's not using their church every day, so you could have alternate pastors, alternate congregations come in and rent out different areas of churches. And so yeah, it kind of leads to what you said, especially here in Houston. We got one on every corner, like, or 2 or 3 up and down one street when you get into our older neighborhoods. So yeah,
I think I might get one.
Hey, listen, my uncle, I got like 3 or 4 uncles that own that church that are pastors. So yeah, it's in the bloodline.
Right.
I got to ask you, Adam, and this will be something that I want to give you opportunity to share with our audience. For everyone who's meeting you for the first time, that would love to tap in, follow your movement, be a part, listen to your show. Could you share all your contact info, how they can check out the show and how they can tap in with the Culturally Distinct podcast?
Yeah, for sure. Go to Google and type in Culturally Distinct, and we're gonna pop up everywhere. I've been blessed. We just signed a deal with a major network, so they'll be coming soon. I can't say what right now, but
congratulations on that, brother. Congratulations.
Appreciate it, my brother. But Google Culturally Distinct, we're everywhere. Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, YouTube, everywhere. So that's us.
Adam, what was the vision of the name? Where did you come up with the name? Where did that hit you at? Like, where'd you come up with that?
Well, actually, it was a group of people that started off with me, but they didn't end the race. They just started off. But we collab. We collab with names. We wanted something that was Creole, because we're all of us from Louisiana. But we wanted something that also is attractive. So at first it was culturally gumbo. I was like, everybody don't eat gumbo. Then we was like, what was it? Culturally distinctive. It was weird names, but culturally distinct was the name. I said, that's dope right there.
That's what's up. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I want to thank you for your time, man. I want to thank you for sharing so much about not only your show, but also your background, because there's so many young business owners, people who are currently at their 9-to-5 job, who are thinking about taking the plunge and making that commitment. So hearing your story, hearing about some of the ups and downs and trials that go along with building a platform like yours, I'm sure there's been more than a few nuggets that will not only inspire, but also motivate those in the audience. So I want to thank you so much, man. If there's anything as far as an event that Larry, myself, all of our viewers can tap into, please let us know, man. We would definitely love to have you back on the show, sitting in with us again and sharing some cool stories from just your experience and what's going on out there as an entrepreneur and business owner.
That's dope. And look, guys, this is what I need from you guys. I need some of you guys merch so I can have it on my platform so I can promote it for you guys. You know what I'm saying? I believe in collaborative efforts, man. So you guys send some of that stuff my way, man.
I got you, man. Listen, no problem. That consider it done. I'm gonna shoot you a message.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. I'll talk to you soon, man. Like you say, stay tapped in with Larry and I, man. And once again, brother, man, thank you so much for your time and God bless.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciate you, Adam.
How you doing, man? Look, another episode down, man. It was great to talk to Adam, man. It's just always inspiring when you see college athletes make that transition to the business world and entrepreneurship, because I know Larry and we both always like to illustrate for the audience how sports can serve those athletes on so many levels outside of just the competition aspect, man. It just shows you so much. So having another athlete on the show, being successful in business and making his mark out here, man, is truly inspiring.
No doubt, man. I totally agree, man. And that's why we want people to continue to stay locked in, tapped into what's going on, because we bring on other people that are visionaries, that have done this, that are doing some of the same things, that they can share their visions on where they think things are going, especially us that are developing things when it comes to this entrepreneur space. Those of you that may be making decisions on, your next career choice and things like that. So, man, most definitely continue to tap into the channel, like, subscribe, tell friends. You don't want to miss next week, because I'm telling you, I got some stuff coming. I can't listen. That's all I can say. It's going to be fire, man.
Hey, look, man, look, let's make sure we all tap in, check it out, man. I'm really excited to hear the news. I'm sure you'll be excited as well. On
Yeah.
behalf of myself, Ric Davis, and the Texas Real Estate King, Mr. Larry W. Brooks, we'd like to thank Mr. Adam Nelson for sitting in this week. We want to thank
Yeah.
everyone in the audience for checking us out. And until next Thursday, everyone in our audience, please be safe and be blessed.